Hey everybody, so race recap. Let me do it this way so you can see me a little better. The light's not so great in here, but yeah, my Achilles, which I can actually flip this around and show you how different this looks. This is the normal one, right? And this is the one that's not doing what it's supposed to do. It's right in here in the calf muscle, soleus area, and it's just swelling everything up. And so it was getting better through physical therapy and the trainings that I was doing, but apparently it didn't like me putting the racing spikes on. And that there wasn't, this race was the only track meet that I get to do in my town of Waco, and so it was my one shot to run in front of more friends and family, and so I did it for fun. So I got to a point where it was starting to be painful, and if there was more on the line, I probably would have pushed through it. But knowing that, it's the recovery piece, my next really big target race is in July, and I don't want to mess it up too much. I need to make sure that I'm ready for that race. So I went through the first 1,600 meters with roughly a mile, about 5:05, 5:06, and came back around and actually motioned to my wife. She was in the stands, and I motioned towards her at the little sign language to let her know that I was going to drop out soon, so that she wouldn't get worried. And went another lap, tried to push through, tried to push off, and just didn't want to respond. So I did a smart thing a little bit before halfway and just stopped. Limping a little bit, but it's not horribly bad. It's definitely not as bad as it was after my Chicago race last month. So, but I still had, which, I'm hard on myself. As an athlete, I know all the coaching things. I know all the things that I'm saying to myself as a coach in my head, that what I would tell my athletes in this type of situation. But I also know that there's the athlete side that says a DNF is you didn't finish, you didn't complete your goal. And sometimes that's okay. But what's interesting is that I had just as many people come up to me and tell me that I'm an inspiration to them as I did last year when I finished the race. And last year I did the 1,500 there. I had the same number of people tell me that I was an inspiration, including a friend of mine that I ran against in college, and he is a coach for one of the colleges that was there. He's a two-time Olympian. He is a speaker. He is obviously a head coach at the school. He's one of the guys that I look to for inspiration. And he, after the race was done and everything was over, we were walking out, and we caught up to him. We were walking out together, and he was like, "Dude, you're an inspiration. You're still out there doing it. You're so inspiring to me." And I was like, "Really? You're a two-time Olympian, dude? Like, I'm just me. I haven't done anything on that level." And there were multiple other people that said that I was an inspiration, of all ages. So it just goes to show that even in failure, you can be inspiring, even in failure. So the only thing that's holding you back is taking the risk. Having the ability to say, I'm going to take the risk. Because I knew going into it, it's a risk. I've been going to physical therapy twice a week for a month. I knew it was a risk getting in this race. My physical therapist knew it was a risk. She sort of looked like, really? You really want to do this in 3 weeks? Like, that was her reaction a couple weeks ago. And So I think everybody that was involved in my recovery from my Chicago race in March knew that this was a push, and so I gave it a shot. So that's what you just have to remember out of all this, and that's what I'm going to remember out of all this, is that sometimes when you're not, sometimes you know you're not ready. Sometimes you know you're not, and you still have to go through with it. Like, that's called like going to reach for your goals. Sometimes you're not ready for it, but you still got to push yourself through it to see if you can get there. And failure is an option. That's actually, I wrote about that in one of my books, that failure is absolutely an option. And so when people tell you that failure is not an option, they are not realistic, because failure is absolutely an option that could occur in anything that you try. It doesn't mean that you need to focus on failure. It doesn't mean that you can't try and overcome failure, because those are things that obviously you have to do. But to go into something and think that you can't possibly fail is unrealistic. So there are other opportunities. There are other plans that you can have. There's also always a different way that you can do things to overcome those obstacles that come up. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to do. As much as I hate it and as much as it's going to drive me nuts from a mental standpoint, I'm going to do what my body really needs, and that's take a few days off. I haven't taken multiple days off in a row in a very long time, over a year. So I'm going to take a few days off and let this thing heal up the proper way. And hopefully I won't drive everybody nuts, but I'll be back with a report hopefully soon with how things are going with that. I'm sure I'll be posting about it as we go through it, because you know, it's important to me to do things that people think can't be done. And to get out there with this injury on top of, you know, the 2 lung surgeries that I've had, on top of the knee on the other leg that doesn't have a PCL anymore because of that injury, on top of all these things that I overcome, I'm going to overcome this one. And it's just a matter of time, and I know that. So, but I wanted to come on and give a race recap for people that are curious as to what happened. So I knew that this was a possibility. I knew that it was a stretch for me to be able to run this one. So it wasn't an injury that I sustained in the race. It was just an injury that I wasn't able to overcome before the race to be able to run it well. So made the smart move and stopped. Sometimes that's the smart move. Sometimes you have to stop to be able to move forward. And so that's what I did. I stopped to be able to move forward quicker with the recovery. So it's going to rain today. If you're in the Waco area, you know, get out there and support either the kids at the regional track meet in high school that's going on at Midway High School, or get out to Baylor and support them, because when it rains, there's very few people out there. Understandably, who wants to sit in the rain, right? But get out there and support them, because these athletes are trying hard. It's what they love to do. They need support, and it's not that expensive. So it's a fun time. It's a good time. It's not super hot, so you can't complain about it's just too hot to be outside. So get out there and support these track athletes, because especially at the Baylor meet, there's people that are at the top of the world that are out there, definitely the top of the NCAA. And at the Midway meet, there's a couple of guys out there that have guys and girls out there that have legitimate shots at winning state titles. So it may be a chance to see the next generation up and coming as they're finishing out their high school career. So, but whatever you do, have fun, be active, be healthy, and stay positive even when that failure comes.